Going wink on the line and air bridge collapsing.
There's a sponsor. Kevin Crawford.
Behind the headline-grabbing spectacle of 15 Pro 4 cars on the entry list of the AM Phillip Trucktech Snowman Rally, there were equally strong entries in the Albyn Garage Challengers and the Autoshop two-wheel drives. Two Imprezas topped the Challengers, seeding John McElraith and Heather Grisdale's Subaru Cup car in front of the more modern car of Duncan Campbell and Michael Cruikshank.
We'll play ourselves in, and it's a while since we've done it, so we'll see where we're at after the first few and see how it goes. So looking forward to it.
Any changes to the car or just off the trailer and away?
We washed it and gave it a wee tidy up, I think. Some new stickers. The boys were committed to me getting a gearbox, but I'm too tight, so we'll just keep the gearbox we've got and hopefully keep it going.
Other four-wheel drives in the mix include Championship sponsor Kevin Crawford, Jordan Anderson, Scott Peacock and John Eason Award winner Johnny Mackay.
Well, the engine's had an overhaul, so that's kind of it really. We're just looking to get a solid year. Like you say, after last year it was mishap after mishap, so this year just all about enjoying ourselves and getting going anyway. So
New navigator, good to have Ian in the car, so he's got plenty of experience, so sure he'll do fantastic.
Should be good. A lot of upgrades over the winter. Some on purpose, some I would rather not done but had to.
Yeah, it's just going to be a learning day. We'll just take it as it comes. New navigator, new car, haven't been on gravel in ages, so don't know what to expect, but it'll be good fun.
The big headline in the two-wheel drives was the late entry of the reigning champions, Peter Stewart and Harry Marchbank, fresh from a disappointing weekend at the East Riding stages.
Last weekend was awful. We did the setup was wrong, the tyres were wrong, and I literally couldn't keep it in a straight line. So I think we were 127th quickest in the first stage, so it's quite embarrassing. So anyway, well, we're here, and I feel good, feel confident. We haven't really looked at the notes because they haven't actually come, so I had to print them off in the hotel last night. Yeah, we're all good. Harry's got DIY notes, so we'll be fine. It'll be good fun. We're looking forward to it. Go for a wee push.
Their 2022 rivals Stuart Eggleston and Brian Hodgson head up the army of rear-wheel drive cars, looking to take on the 208.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously that's we had a good battle last year, so that's the main objective, but I don't know whether we're doing the full championship yet. We'll just see how things start off really and go from there.
Try and get used to this thing, but yeah, I'm going to try and push on if I can find the bottle to do it. Slightly different to a Group N Impreza, so yeah, we'll push on.
No, I'm just going out to play, and where we end up, so we'll see what happens.
No targets at all?
No, just pull the trigger and hold on. So.
Keep up with that man in front, that's my bonus, and keep away from this man behind me. That's all I'm planning.
We'll just see what we can do as always. We're up against it, I guess, with the cars, but that's part of the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's been too long. 2017 was the last full season we did, so apart from 3 last year, we've been a big break. So
Bob Laney and Rogie opened the day, and it was to be a dramatic opening loop. Stewart and Marchbank topped the two-wheel drives in the opening loop. Very happy to be back on the gravel, the 208 was sitting 16th overall at first service. "12 seconds back, McElraith and Grisdale had started well, taking the Challengers' lead. The older Impreza 15 seconds up on Campbell and Cruikshank. But all was not well for the DC7 team.
You know, I told you I was too tight to buy a new gearbox. I'm stuck in 4th.
Oh.
No, so it's not good. So the boys, though, are committed we can get this going again, and hopefully we can kind of go to the rest of the rally in fourth, that's for sure.
So that's a good result so far then for being stuck in fourth.
I reckon I've lost 5 minutes.
Unfortunately, the gearbox issue would put them out. John Crawford and Josh Davison were only 5 seconds behind the Impreza. After a good run in 1, John was unimpressed at catching a car in 2, resulting in a broken windscreen on the Mark II. Championship sponsor Kevin Crawford and Andrew Stevenson had made a good start in their Evo, just 1 second up on Paddy Munro and David O'Brien. The Mark II surviving a spin on the opening stage. Scott Peacock and Craig Wallace's Evo was now sporting a sequential gearbox. Still adapting to the new setup, Scott had found he wasn't being hard enough on the downshifts, causing the diffs to switch off mid-stage. They were just 2 seconds up on David Wilson and Kerry McGilvery, wrestling with the big BMW on the slippy stages. Former two-wheel drive champions Dougal Brown and Lewis Rochford were the meat in a BMW sandwich. 7 seconds down on Wilson and McGilvery, they were only 1 second ahead of the E30 of Kenny Wood and Gordon Chalmers. And that was how Keir Beaton and Ian Thorburn started their day. Back on their wheels, they carried on, sitting 63rd overall after 2 stages. But they fared better than John Eason Award winner Johnny Mackay and co-driver Ian Parker, the Evo's prop shaft letting them down in stage 1. Stuart Eggleston and Brian Hodgson were also out early with a fractured oil pipe. Jordan Anderson and Ian McDougall put their Impreza off the road in stage 2. But making the most spectacular exit, Andy Horn and Emily Easton Page would retire with a big accident in stage 2. Both were taken to hospital and Andy suffered fractured ribs and a broken wrist. It hasn't put him off though, and he hopes to be back out.
I'm happy, stages are good, some big rocks in there. There's been a couple of moments. Harry said he lifted his foot at one point waiting for a bang, but the bang didn't happen, so a few big cuts, and we're there, and I think we're where we want to be, so all good.
Been alright, yeah, happy enough. Stages are a wee bit greasy and it's the same for everybody, so we'll manage, we'll stay going, so it's all good.
The second loop consisted of a single run through the Lochletter stage. Stuart and Marchbank continued to lead the two-wheel drives, despite Peter feeling he was too cautious in the downhill sections. McElwraith and Grisdale were also cautious, concentrating on avoiding a costly puncture. Tying on time with the Impreza in this stage, Wilson and McGilvery climbed to second two-wheel drive and second challengers. The BMW now just 4 seconds up on Crawford and Stevenson, the championship sponsor's solid run continuing. In fact, they were just 1 second ahead of Peacock and Wallace. The diffs continued to give Scott grief, cutting 3 times on the stage, and the Red Evo was now tied on time with Paddy Munro and David O'Brien. The Mark II running well with its newly refreshed engine. Brown and Rochford were now just 6 seconds down on Peacock and Munro. It was a nervy run through Lochletter, the alternator belt slipping off early in the stage.
Short left 3 slippy, 3 here, 100. Fast left 3 into fast left 3 in, repeat 3 and 3 in, into right 6, tidy it now, left 6 over crest and left 5 don't cut, 60 up, right 4 into long left 5, this is right 4 into long left 5, 200 up middle.
Climbing to within 5 seconds of the Mark II on this stage were Robert Proudlock and Stephen Brown. The reigning junior champion had been delayed in the morning with no intercom. Now that was fixed, he was starting to push his Adam R2.
Right 4, tight left 4, repeat right 4, tight left 4, 80, fast left 4, opens, repeat fast left 4, opens, 100, left 5 and right 5, repeat left 5 and right 5 in, 80, left 5, 130, back off a bit, danger left 3.
Unfortunately, luck wasn't with them, a misfire developing on the way back to service, putting them out just as they got into their stride. Wood and Chalmers continued to slide the big BMW around, and they were now just 2 seconds ahead of Brian Ross and Mark Fisher. Brian speeding up as the day wore on. John Crawford's tough day continued, the Mark II delayed with a puncture. Also struggling, Beaton and Thorburn lost a rear brake pipe early on in the stage, and then the car began to overheat. They were eventually forced to retire after this stage. The final loop was a repeat of the first 2 stages. 10th in the two-wheel drives at the finish rounded off a tough day for Craig Smith and Charles Mackenzie. Issues before the event meant starting with a standard gearbox and diff in the Astra. The car was also using oil at an alarming rate, and they had to contend with wildly unpredictable handling. Post-event, they found a broken rear shock absorber, a non-functioning diff, and no compression on one of the cylinders. The battle for 8th in the two-wheel drives was a cracker. Donald Peacock and Mary Riddick eventually losing out by just 2 seconds to their fellow historic escort crew of Grant Ingalls and Gavin Chisholm, despite the blue car suffering with alternator issues during the day. Brett McKenzie and Barry Young put on a late event charge to grab 9th in the Albyn Garage Challengers, the Evo just 6 seconds away from Brian Ross and Mark Fisher. The 2.5 litre Escort losing out to John Crawford's 2 litre example by just 1 second at the end of the day.
You know the way they do in the bikes?
Aye, I bet he does. Aye. Aye, he did.
Aye.
Oh, yeah, like that, yeah.
He'll have a set of fate.
Wood and Chalmers took an excellent 6th in the Challengers and 5th in the two-wheel drives. Kevin Crawford and Andrew Stevenson's sensible approach netted them 5th in the Challengers, a good start to their 2023 season.
Nicely done.
Munro and O'Brien were just 3 seconds up the road at the finish and only 5 away from Peacock and Wallace.
Barry, I'll be thinking that car.
Into flat left 1, C500. And long right 1, keep in 100. And small crest 50, here turn left 6, keep out. Repeat, small crest 50, turn left 6, keep out. Stay, well done.
Oh, that was decent.
Yeah, you drove that, bloody amazing. That was it,
I love that, the car is handling well now.
Dougal Brown and Lewis Rochford really turned up the wick on the last loop, setting 2 fastest two-wheel drive times. Their charge brought them to within 5 seconds of Wilson and McGilvery. A wrong tyre choice slowed the BMW and the engine overheated on the final road section. Luckily, it lasted long enough for them to see the finish. McElwraith and Grisdale were delighted with the Challengers win and an excellent 12th overall in their Clubman Spec Impreza, ending the rally just 18 seconds away from the two-wheel drive winners.
He was holding up to a top 10 or something. And he looks as if he's not going to lose that position.
Stewart and Marchbank felt the hard work had been done in the morning and they were able to cruise to the two-wheel drive win on the last loop. 11th overall in amongst the four-wheel drive cars was another excellent result for the 208 crew.